Will the 2023 class be Kirby Smart's best defensive class that he has signed since he's been the head coach at the University of Georgia? Now, I know I've made a similar type of video. I think it was back in the summer. But the more and more I think about it, I do think that if Georgia lands these final targets on defense, of course, that this really could be Kirby's best defensive class that he has signed. Now, that might sound crazy because Georgia signed some elite classes on the defensive side of the football in the last few years. Obviously, last year's defense was historic, iconic, arguably the best college football defense of all time. This year, they're number 1, 2 in college football. So, of course, you have to have great recruiting classes to build defenses like that. And, of course, that's what Kirby Smart has been doing. But what they're doing right now in the 2023 class, one that they're trying to load up on with elite defenders, which they're doing, I think this really could be their best. So, of course, let's break it down right now. Let's talk about who they have on board in the 2023 class. All right, they've got 5 defensive backs. I think they're done there. 5-star A.J. Harris, big-time safety Janelle Aguero, 4-star cornerback Daniel Harris, one of the best in Miami or in the Miami area and in Florida in general. High 4-star kid, Justin Rhett, versatile kid out of Las Vegas who can play safety or cornerback. Chris Peel, another guy who can run and strike you against the run, one of the best in North Carolina. He's on board. So you've got 5 there. You got 3 of the best linebackers in the country, especially guys who can play middle linebacker. Troy Bowles, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen. These guys can run. They can hit. They can cover. These guys check the boxes. I do think this is probably the best linebacker unit, especially at middle linebacker, that they will have signed in the past 5 years. Those guys are dogs. They're freaks, whatever you want to call them. I expect all 3 of them to have very good careers in Athens and play pretty early. And then on the defensive line, still some work to do there, but they've got some big time targets left out there, and I think Georgia is trending in the right direction. And this is where, if they close well on the defensive line, which right now I expect to, this might be the most complete defensive class that they've signed. Right now they have Jamal Jarrett, their big monster kind of nose guard guy who is going to clog the middle of the trenches, clog those running lanes, but who can also get after the passer. That Jordan Davis type, they have him on board. Gabe Harris, outside linebacker, edge, 6'4", 250, can get after the quarterback. So there's a handful of spots right there. As far as targets go, you know them by now. Sam and Pemba, 5-star edge defender. I like where Georgia sits with him. Jordan Hall, a big-time interior defensive lineman out of Jacksonville. I've liked where Georgia has sat with him for quite a few weeks now. Damon Wilson, I think Georgia has a little bit of work to do there. I think Ohio State's still probably the team to beat in the end, although he is coming off that Georgia visit for the Tennessee game. Georgia's making it really interesting. And then David Hobbs, a guy who's committing in a couple of weeks. I think Georgia moved past Alabama and Tennessee for him. He's a guy who's versatile, 6'4", about 270, could play inside, could play outside, depending on the scheme and what you're asking him to do. But he's one of the fastest rising defensive linemen in the country, and the guy very high on Georgia's board. Wouldn't surprise me if he becomes a 5-star when the final rankings come out. So if they get one elite edge defender, they add Jordan Hall to play with Jamal Jarrett, and then add Devin Hobbs, again, a guy who can mix and match with you. That would be an outstanding defensive line. Hall, add Damon Wilson. It could be the best defensive class in the country. Probably will if they get those guys. So, but where does it stack up with previous classes? 22, the freshman unit, we've already seen those guys start to make plays. Malachi Starks, already a safety as a true freshman in the secondary. Michael Williams has played a good bit already as a true freshman. Marvin Jones Jr. has seen some time. It's easy to see his potential. Dalen Everett has played a little bit at the end of games. Jalen Walker is a guy who I have high hopes for at linebacker. Bear Alexander has seen the field a little bit. So these young guys, these true freshmen, are already making an impact. That's going to turn out to be a really good class. You also have Julian Humphrey, Kristen Miller, C.J. Washington, Marcus Washington, Darius Smith, Ja'Cory Thomas, C.J. Madden, E.J. Lightsey, and Sean Washington. That was a massive defensive haul that they signed in last year's class. Going to be a good one. 2021, Small Munden, already a starter at linebacker. Jamon Dumas-Johnson, a starter at linebacker. Kamari Laster, a starter at cornerback. You've also got Chaz Chambliss, who's made a lot of plays. Javon Bullard, a rising star in the secondary. Then guys like Xavier Sori, former 5-star, going to be a really good player. I still think I've got high hopes for the rest of his career. Too talented not to. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, we've seen him on the defensive line a little bit this year. David Daniel, another guy in the secondary that we've seen some, and then Jonathan Jefferson. So very good class. Is it Georgia's best that they've signed? Don't think so. Very good class there. 2010, you got a couple of guys there. Kelee, Ringo, and Jalen Carter have both been the guys that I think Georgia expected out of high school. Both are probably going to be first-round picks. Both have made big plays for Georgia over the last few years. So they have played like 5 stars. That's kind of it. You've got Warren Brinson, who's made some plays. MJ Sherman, we've seen a little bit of him, not as much as I thought when they originally signed him, and Nazir Stackhouse. Those are kind of the 5 from the 2020 class that have made some plays. That was more of an offensive class, loaded up there in the 2020 class on offense. 2019, really good one. You got 4 absolute studs. This might be the best class that Kirby has signed just because of these 4 guys. Nolan Smith, leader, right, of this team. If he didn't get hurt, maybe could push into first-round status. Maybe he is still a first-rounder. We'll see, but very good career. Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall, 3 and out, 5-star, played like it. Nakobe Dean, 5-star career at Georgia. Hopefully he'll get an opportunity to see some time in Philadelphia. Lewis Seen, another 3 and out, first-round guy. After that, you had Tyreek Stevenson, who made some plays at Georgia, probably should have stayed at Georgia. Tremel Walthour, we've seen some. Zion Logue, we've seen some this year. Tresman Marshall and Ryan Davis round out that defensive hole in the 2019 class that we've seen from a lot of guys. 2018, probably their best. It was Kirby's best class that he has signed so far, in my opinion, especially on defense. Quay Walker, 5-star, turned out to be a first-round pick. Can't do much better than that. Jordan Davis, former 3-star, turned first-rounder. He's doing well for the Eagles. Obviously, a Georgia legend. My guy, Azeez Ojulari, saw him play a ton at Marietta. He turned out to be better than Brenton Cox, who they signed in this class. Azeez, great Georgia career. If he could stay healthy, I think has a long NFL career ahead of him. Channing Tindall, I believe he was the 3rd-round pick last year. Devonta Wyatt turned into a first-round pick. Tyson Campbell was an early 2nd-round pick. Adam Anderson, good career at Georgia until, the incident, all right? Haven't seen him since. And then Chris Smith, who was a multi-year starter and one of the best players on Georgia's current defense. He was in that class too. Loaded group, really hard to beat that 2018 group. But I think this current 23 class has the possibility to do that down the road. 2017, Eric Stokes, Monty Rice, Richard LeCount. Those were the 3 guys who made plenty of plays in Athens. Malik Herring did too, but outside of those 4, not a whole lot of guys really did much of anything, in my opinion. So 2017, good class offensively, not so much on the defensive side of the ball. 2016, no one really to talk about but Tyler Clark, who one of the more underappreciated guys on that team, and probably one of the more underrated defenders that we've seen through Kirby Smart's time. Hasn't made it in the NFL, but he made a lot more plays at Georgia than I think people remember. So 2019 class was really good. 2018 class, probably the best. 2021, jury's still out. Those guys have started to play really well, especially the ones who have earned starting roles. 2022, this freshman group, a lot of talent. I think this could be a very good class defensively. And then this 23 group, though, I expect the linebackers to make a lot of plays. I expect multiple guys in the secondary to be multi-year starter guys. And again, if they close on the guys that they want to on the defensive line, you're going to see guys play a ton there and probably more multi-year starters. I think this 23 group could help Georgia in the future be a defense like they were last year and this year. Listen, Kirby knows what he's doing. You've got Glenn Schumann coaching these guys at linebacker, running the defense. Will Muschamp is in town coaching them up. Trey Scott killing it on the trail. He's developed his guys into multiple first-rounders. This is an excellent defensive staff. Not only do they recruit, but they develop, and they are bringing in a load of talent. Half of the last couple of years, especially on defense. Never mind, every year, these guys are bringing in elite talent on the defensive side of the ball. And you're seeing it. Young guys are playing early and making a lot of plays. In the 23 class, they're just not missing a lot. Glenn Schumann didn't miss. He went 3 for 3, got his guys. Fran Brown, Will Messam, those guys have done an excellent job in the secondary. And if Trey Scott pulls guys like Sam and Pimba, maybe Damon Wilson, Jordan Hall, who is explosive on the interior, he's going to make a lot of plays. And then you add maybe a Devin Hobbs, if I think Georgia's going to hit 3 or out of those 4, and even then, that's a 5-star haul. If they get all 4 of those guys, then we're talking this really could be the best class that Kirby has put together defensively since he's been at Georgia. What are your thoughts? Drop them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I'll see you over on Dog Post.